Hey folks, welcome to another episode of Arcane Assist. I'm Tim, joined this week again by Evan.
Hello.
We are recording another game with Athanor Locke? Is that right?
Athanor.
Athanor Locke. In Convergence. Evan's played her a bit in Convergence, really digs her. She's super fun. This is exactly the same list as we used in the previous video where we featured Athanor Locke. If you haven't watched that video, we've got a link in the description below. If you enjoy the list and you want to see it shown off a little bit more, that's available to you. I am playing in KHADOR as well. I'm playing Zerkova 1, who I think is a really neat KHADOR caster. Playing her in Legions of Steel. We've shown off Legion of Steel on the channel before. This list is a little bit less Ulan heavy and has some more Battlegroup pieces.
Makes sense.
Yeah, I mean, I can give you the specifics. It's a max unit of regular pikemen with UA. It's got 2 Kovniks and Skirova. It has 3 Juggernauts, 2 min units of Ulans, and Sylys. I may end up swapping Sylys out for Ragman at a later date. I feel like the only thing Zerkova doesn't do well is for armor cracking, but I'd already prepared the list before we decided what we were playing as the matchup today, and it would have been nicer to have armor cracking tools against a bunch of jacks.
Yeah, probably.
But, we'll see how we go.
In terms of our convergence list, we got Locke, we got Axiom, we got 2 Inverters, 2 Galvanizers, a Corollary as per usual, and again for that spice factor, the Monitor. Great piece in a Locke list.
You know him, you love him, the Monitor.
Yep. He flings buzzsaws out of a catapult.
But when you get into melee, he clamps you.
And yeah, give him clamps.
That's absolutely right. And then you've got a plethora, a veritable cornucopia of servitors.
Yep. We got the attunements. We got the eliminations. We got the reflexes.
All right, we'll see you in deployment.
Oh.
All right, so I won the die roll and elected to go first. Evan gave me a side I'm not as enamored with. It's a bit of a puzzle. I've got a bunch of corrosion bath in the middle of the board, which is going to be a bit of a challenge for a bunch of one-man infantry. So I end up kind of flanking a little bit harder with the Iron Fangs, going to put them in that bottom zone. Got some line of sight blocking terrain, but he's definitely given me a side with fewer options for clouds. What I'd like to do with Zerkova is kind of put out that 4-cloud wall every turn and kind of keep my whole army behind it, ideally kind of building it off something else. Our line of sight blocking piece of terrain in the middle of the board is also a cloud this time, which is less great to build a cloud wall off of, ironically. So I'm working with what I've got. This is definitely a little bit of a trickier board setup for her, and I think we're going to sort of see that play out. I've deployed my jacks fairly centrally, along with Zerkova. We've got a couple of Kovniks. We're kind of putting them with each unit so they can offer that sweet, sweet precision strike. Oh, and I didn't actually mention in the deployment phase I have, obviously, Great Bears in the list. They're pretty cool. They're not what they were in Mark II, but what they are now is a unit that all has countercharge. So they've got some really cool tools, and they're also a small unit that can score a circle zone. So I think that kind of justifies their inclusion.
Makes sense. So this time around for me, my plan with taking this side was basically that I have tools for getting through the forest for Pathfinder. I can basically just park the Axiom on top of that Burning Earth and not care at all about it taking dice off 8 fire rolls, only 2/3 of the time at that. And I basically gave Tim only one thing to help block line of sight with his cloud wall, because if he's on the side I've taken, he can make a huge cloud wall from the forest to the Burning Earth, and I don't like that at all, or between the forest and the cloud in the middle of the table, or the cloud in the middle of the table and the Burning Earth. It's just there's far too much he can do with this side of the table for me to give it to him, and I have tools about getting around the things that would be a problem normally, so I'm okay with taking it. In terms of my deployment, I have the 3 warjacks that are heavy warjacks, basically taking up the space behind the forest. They're all going to get Pathfinder turn 1 and just move on through. The Axiom is, again, going to just live on top of that Burning Earth until it goes further up. Going second, I don't have anywhere near as much pressure turn 1 because I can't run the Axiom 14 inches up the board. That said, he's still pretty good in that he can probably get some shots off turn 1. And then it's up to your turn 1, Tim.
So I advance move the small-based unit of regular Iron Fang pikemen. They go pretty far. I think the advanced move in this theme is supposed to be about getting shield ball up early. And I debate doing that. I kind of, again, that acid bath's a bit of a problem for me. I really don't want to send them through it. And I immediately kind of think maybe I should have swapped them with the Ulans and just accepted some corrosion checks on the Ulans to have my whole army deployed a little bit more centrally. But I opted instead to kind of just press aside. Let's see if I can weather what limited shooting Evan has. The thing is, most of the shooting in his list is the Axiom and some Elimination Servitors. If I keep the Iron Fangs largely out of that, I'm relying on him rolling a whole bunch of 7s. So Zerkova activates. She uses the cost reduction by 1 to put Watcher up. She uses the extended range to throw Ghost Walk out onto this unit of Ulans. And then she uses the ignores line of sight to throw a cloud up. That one was just for cuteness' sake. That doesn't actually do anything.
Fair enough, I guess.
So these Ulans run into the rubble, again making use of Ghost Walk. They're pretty aggressively positioned and basically happy there.
Makes sense.
My Juggernauts all just ran, being Juggernauts.
So what's your plan for positioning this turn? You're gonna do kind of a cute trick, I think, with the Ulans and the pikemen in the bottom zone here.
Yeah, I've got Malikov here, so he has a
Markov.
Markov. So he's got a pretty big tactician bubble. So I just run the Ulans up, and my plan is that they're kind of a little bit of a line, and then behind that, in front of them, I'm going to put Iron Fangs to sort of prevent them from being dragged. That means you maybe don't get to drag an Ulan in and kill it with a Prime Axiom, which I think is probably something you would do given the opportunity.
Yep.
Skirova runs right up in the middle there. She wants to be in a bubble of people for Righteous Vengeance and Vet Leader and all those lovely things. And I put the Kovniks up into positions where they can grant their precision strike and be kind of possible countercharge threat vectors. And Sylys just, wanders up to hang out next to Zerkova.
Neat. All right, so you've put some Iron Fangs in charge range of the Reflex Servitors I've advanced deployed, and also, as it turns out, if I redline the Axiom, basically everything in that bottom zone is in threat range. So I have some options. My original plan is to move up these Elimination Servitors, plink off some of the farther down Iron Fangs, and then use the Reflex Servitor to charge in and, take off the front Iron Fang, and then tow cable in some Ulans, and hopefully take 2 Ulans off the table on turn 1. I think that's a great attrition play for me. Takes out a lot of the armor cracking in Tim's list. And then Skirova countercharges because she has that.
Yep, my Iron Fang solos and Great Bears get countercharged, so Skirova jumps up with Tactician, moves through the Ulans, and she just kills the Reflex Servitor.
I'm like, great. Well, this next Reflex Servitor is going to charge Skirova and stay out of Markov's countercharge range because I'm not doing that twice immediately. This Reflex Servitor is we're just gonna roll soon in a moment. There it is. He missed. Blast damage still happens though. It's POW 7. Just gonna hit Skirova. It doesn't do any damage. All right.
Yeah, she's got a shield. So on a front arc attack like that, Reflex Servitor, she's actually on 17.
Yeah. So that's 2 Reflex Servitors, 0 progress. Cool. Elimination Servitor. Gonna go and just plink out an Iron Fang. Please do it. Before I do that, actually, I think I go with Locke and throw at all my upkeeps and stuff. I haven't allocated anything because I want to make sure that I get all 3 of my upkeeps out on the first turn. So Corollary accumulates and runs, passes it off to the Axiom. Then Locke is going to go throw up Road to War, Sentry on the Monitor, as well as Redline on the Axiom. I also had that Reflex Servitor that just so happened to be in range. He got a back arc on Skirova and then crushed the damage roll. So she's going to be disabled. And the blast damage also takes out the Iron Fang on the opposite side. So now I have the option of toe cabling Skirova in, getting her away from anything that can heal her, and then also making sure she's disabled on the next turn, and then maybe also toe cabling in the Ulan, something like that. But we'll see what the Axiom can do. He's also probably going to Excella Spiker a bunch of different things, as much as he will need 7s to hit, as well as pretty good damage rolls to do anything with it. He's going to take his fire token. Thanks, Tim.
Yep, no worries. Prime Axiom is on fire.
All right, so let's start taking some shots. We're going to center it onto that Ulan, which also happens to center it on Skirova, conveniently.
Mm-hmm. Yep, that's part of the plan.
And then we just start taking some Excella Spiker shots. So
Rolls
7s to
7.
hit, and they basically auto-kill these Iron Fangs.
They need to roll 4s.
They're 17s? Base?
Nope, but you're POW Strength 11.
Oh, sorry. Yes, sorry. I'm range 13, POW 11, not the other way around. I always mix it up. Yeah. So kill a couple Iron Fangs.
Rocking a couple Road to Wars. Yeah, the last time you saw this Axiom, you didn't get to see it be a gun platform, but Route 5 is actually really, really good. Bizarrely good.
I mean, when it has a rate of fire 5 gun, it's not bad. Just clearing out Iron Fangs everywhere I can, getting Road to Wars. These ones aren't hugely relevant, but just getting that extra 3 inches on the first turn's not bad. Helps me get through this forest. Although I will be, regardless of where I move with them, getting into some threat ranges with Ulans. But I need the table space, so I will take it. 2 toe cables, I just go for 2 hard 7s because I forget that I've induced a focus to the Axiom. Turns out to be okay because I hit the second toe cable.
Yep, and you miss her with the melee attack.
The melee attack.
And I'm like, oh, cool. She's healed a couple points. Like, she's alive. She's going to hang out. And then you buy a second attack and roll 7 on that one and kill her.
And crush her. So she's disabled in the middle of nowhere with no more friends to heal her. So she's going to go away at the beginning of Tim's turn.
So this was an aggressive play with the Axiom, just relying on rolling a whole ton of 7s. But you had a bunch of them, and when they work, they work. You got a ton of value out of it. Obviously, you're going to kill Skirova unless you kill someone else within her command, which seems not likely to happen. I think this is a really strong Locke turn.
Yeah. And then with the rest of my servitors, I basically run up, get into some good countercharge positions. One's just going to hide right behind the dense fog, as well as the bottom zone. They're just going to block charge lanes from Ulans and do whatever they can to just be in the way and be annoying. Yeah. Galvanizer is going to hide behind the big little oil thing in the bottom zone. Inverters getting Pathfinder and running through the forest, making sure they've cleared it completely so that they actually, don't have to deal with Pathfinder the next turn. Monitor, however, not quite going to make it through. More servitors moving up, and the last focus gets passed on to the Galvanizer. Unfortunately, can't complete the circuit with where the Corollary is, but he hides behind a house where he's not going to get charged by Great Bears or Ulans. And then more jamming with servitors in the bottom. Yeah, going to do what we can to keep you off the Axiom. Only get some Ulan charges in, because it's hard to prevent those ones, because they can also just impact attack the servitors. But, making it hard for Tim to do what he wants to do.
Yeah, pretty effectively, I'd say. Definitely some good pieces in the way there.
All right, what's the plan?
Well, Skirova's dead. Not ideal. I keep Watcher for free, and all my jacks power up. So I have to figure out what I'm going to do here. I think I want to put some damage into the Inverter. in the sort of top zone there. Like get some attrition work with the Ulans. I also kind of want to put a bunch of damage in the Axiom. I think I need to spike a lot to do real work to it. One of the things I consider doing is just kind of pulling back a little bit, clouding my pieces up after putting some damage in on the top zone. I feel like the top zone is actually going pretty well for me. The bottom zone is getting pretty bad, so maybe just like swinging over and concentrating force there. But instead, I stay with the kind of current game plan of putting attrition into everything that I can. That means I'm going to come up and do a Hex Blast. With the plus 2 inches of range from Sylys and her ability to give plus 5 range to something, I've actually got a 17-inch range Hex Blast, so like I can dig pretty deep and kill some kind of bullshit things. And I'm like, how hard would it be to just kill Locke here? And it turns out quite a bit harder than I'd like it to be. So she instead just uses a discount and casts a Hex Blast on the Axiom. It's Signs Importance from Sylys, so she hits. And then she'll boost damage. It's POW 13, so -7. Just hoping a Signs Importance boosted 7 does like a good start. It's okay. Does a little bit. This is on the right side, which is, I think, also the side you took red line damage from. So that's a start. That's pretty good. I also put Ghostwalk on the top unit of Ulans. They have Relentless Charge, so they can get through that rubble no problem, but I want to be able to like repo them back and out. Although I'm kind of working in competing philosophies here. Like I'm obviously having a bit of a weird turn because honestly, I think I'm a little bit on tilt from just like the really good round of attrition Evan had last turn. I'm thinking, oh, maybe I should have cloud walled. Like I felt like I was staring down a melee force, and then he's got a lot of guns, which speaks certainly to the flexibility of the list. So I put down a cloud on top of the 2 inverters, planning in kind of the back of my mind to just sort of jam those pieces with the Ulans, but then I also Ghostwalk the Ulans so that they can walk out of melee when they're done. So I'm not sure that my mind was in the right place here. The Ulans impact the Servitor here. First one misses. The second one doesn't impact. The third one, when he impacts, kills the Servitor and continues on his charge. They all 3 charge that Inverter. All 3 get into range.
Dice -3 on their damage rolls.
It's pretty good. Should do a bit of damage here, and they certainly do. First one is 11, which is a nice spike. I do get to choose column with these guys because they're in the Convex range. The second one does 6 more damage. I choose the wrong column on the first one for some reason because I didn't ask Evan to look at his grid. Convergence grids are oddly laid out, so I was like, oh, it'll be good to do it to the 5. That'll take out an arm, and that's not actually how convergence grids work at all.
They're super weird.
So
we shift some damage around after this discovery is made.
Yeah, I do 3 more damage too, and I sort of look at the grid and I end up taking out basically your induction node.
You take out the induction node and the macro pummeler.
Right.
So the big weapon and the ability to get focus are both pretty big. That said, Engine of Destruction certainly helps when you can't have boosts.
Yeah, and if I was wise about it, I probably would have taken out the attack that you can use multiple times.
Yeah.
Like that would have been a smarter play. Again, these guys pull back with Ghostwalk, ignoring the free strikes. Probably I should have jammed in there and made use of that you've got -2 to hit situation. Going to mat 9, turning down to mat 7, you're still looking for 5s, but, that's at least dice you have to roll. So, this gentleman here charges, impacts the Reflex Servitor, gets into melee range of the Prime Axiom. The melee range of the Prime Axiom is actually a little bit weird and awkward because the Burning Earth has a little bit of a raised profile to it, and the Prime Axiom's kind of like rocking on top of it a bit. So we just sort of try to clean it up a bit.
Yep.
So these 3 gentlemen all get charges in on the Axiom. One of them gets an impact that doesn't happen to do any damage. And we're rolling damage. This is all dice -4.
Yep.
On the blasting pikes.
Yeah, I think this we're currently determining like which side where each attack is going.
Yeah, so I start
whether
with the
or not
2
you
who
have
can
precision strike.
put it on the right side. They are in range to get precision strike, so they're going to try to take out an arm.
Yep, makes sense. try to mitigate the damage they're going to be taking back from this is probably a good idea.
Does another sort of 6 points. Last guy has nothing. No damage at all. So they're going to stay in the 2-inch melee, and they're just going to repo a little bit.
Repo in such a way that Markov can get in?
Yeah, I end up kind of messing around the repo a little bit here, tinkering with it, so that I can get a Markov charge. I'm probably committing a little bit harder to the Axiom here than I would. I think it's really important in games like this to take a couple of seconds and sit back and say, like, okay, am I employing the right strategy? Like, is this working, or am I just, kind of responding emotionally? Like, Evan had pretty good dice, so there's this sort of weird gambler's fallacy thing where you're like, well, he had pretty good dice, so I'll probably have pretty good dice here, and then maybe if I get really good dice, I'll take this thing out, and that's obviously not how math or anything works at all. So, I'm giving a lot of points, but there's an argument that there's some pressure being applied here. Markov charges in. He actually gets 3 days sick because he's a cab model, but he hits either way. And then his charge attack is also POW 16. He's got a cool warhead ability that's mostly relevant when an AoE would hit anything else.
It's true.
And he does, I think, like 8 or 9 more damage.
Yeah.
I have taken out a side at this point.
Yep.
So the Axiom is down a side and it's taking some splash damage on the other side. None of the Iron Fangs here can get in. So I'm just going to charge a couple of them, and they're mini-feeding here. So a few of them run and end the turn in shield ball formation. That's what the mini-feed does, is that they can run and be in shield ball at the end of their activation. And the guys who charged actually get repo 5. So they kill that servitor, and they just repo back into the cluster.
Yep.
Not like a Earth's getting destroyed type of cluster, but, regular type.
Okay. All right. Kovnik moves up, does Kovnik things.
Just basically is a counter charge, buddy.
Mm-hmm. Fire goes out on the Axiom. Yeah.
Yeah, I was hoping a little bit of fire damage would maybe take something else out. It's a generous spike that it might,
yeah.
But
at this point, I remember that I upkeep spells for free on my Battlegroup model, so I take that focus back. And looking at the table this turn, I think, okay, if I have to take anything in the center zone, I kind of want the Reflex Servitor to walk up, hit that Kovnik, do a bunch of damage, but if I do that, I'll trigger Watcher. So if I feat, I'll get rid of Watcher, because my feat is basically a purification that only hits enemy spells. So getting rid of Watcher is great, and that's the only upkeep spell you have out, so that's really the only thing I have to worry about getting in. And then I'll have a pretty good defensive round next turn if you want to spend any spells on Zerkova, which you do, or any focus on Jax.
Oh, it is worth noting that I did feat this turn. So you didn't make your sentry attack.
Correct.
Because you can't make ranged attacks. And there's a couple of other pieces here that are restricted by it. Obviously, you can't charge and some other stuff. I definitely forgot that your feat removed upkeeps. Mm-hmm. I was sort of relying on that Watcher to maybe enable a Juggernaut to get like a crit stationary if you end up sending something all in on Zerkova. And that might not be such a bad plan here.
Well, I wasn't even looking at going after Zerkova at all. I wanted to... The broken Inverter and the Monitor are going to go after the top unit of Ulans. Like, even a broken Macro Pummeler with Engine of Destruction needs a 3 to hit and a 4 to kill. My mechanics went over and fixed up the other arm on the Axiom so he can just drill and kill some Ulans.
Drill, baby, drill.
Drill, baby, drill. And even Locke's going to get in here herself just to trigger some Road to Wars with Engine of Destruction. Sure is. When she gets to Mat 9, POW 16, just punches an Ulan to death.
Crit knockdown.
He is steady, but he punches an Ulan to death. And then my plan with the other Inverter, once I had gone and done a bunch of damage to the Kovnik with a Reflex Servitor, that's what they're called, it was to just go, knock down one Jack, and maybe do a bunch of damage and cripple the other with Precision Strike. So take out the axe so it only has 1 damage, or take out the cortex so you can't buy attacks. Just do something like that, make it work, and then the Axiom's just going to continue doing attrition work on the opposite side here. So that's my plan at the start of the turn. However, it's probably going to change a bit as we start going through. I throw a red line up on the jack I want to throw in on some Juggernauts. Servitor, finally going to go in on that Kovnik. Hits it. It's dice -3, so he only ends up doing 3 damage to the Kovnik.
Yep.
Something's better than nothing. Unfortunately, I can't make ranged attacks, so I can't just use my monitor to go and trigger Road to War, unfortunately. So the Axiom is just going to go bunch up a bit, make sure everything's still in melee.
Stay in the 2 of everybody.
And just start swinging. Mat 9, I only need 3s to hit these Ulans, and it's POW Strength 21. So it's
sufficient to kill Ulans.
Pretty good at killing Ulans, yes. Road to War the Monitor. Killed another one, so I do Road to War. I'll only move an 1.5 inches.
Yeah, the Monitor does not at this moment hit Pathfinder, so it loses a bit of distance.
Yeah,
on that
it does have it gained Pathfinder from the objective, but can't use it outside of his activation. The other kill. At this point, I kind of realize. Once I kill killed Markov, and I've transferred a bunch of focus over, I'm looking at my Road to War options, and I realize, hold on a second, this Inverter's just in 11 inches of Zerkova, isn't it? All right, well, that changes some things. I'm just going to Road to War towards Zerkova.
Yeah, that's a problem. So you Road to War into the cloud here. I do charge you with the Kovnik.
Yep. I figured it's fine if you countercharge because I have 2 jacks that can come in and just fix it if they need to.
Yeah, I'm hoping that I can't quite stay out of threat and still get effective countercharge, so this Kovnik could die when the other Inverter comes over. He hits. He's a POW 12 Weapon Master, so that's dice -7. So he does some 9 damage.
You do 8. 9
damage.
9 damage, yep. But you need to do 11 to cripple anything.
Too bad. Crippling anything would have been really nice. It's a spike either way, so I'm kind of asking for a lot. I was hoping this countercharge plus the Watcher attack would maybe be enough, but it's obviously
Watcher
Watcher
allowed.
Was pretty strong.
This guy's gonna go. This Inverter, he's gonna use his squiggly arm attack, official name, and go and kill the Kovnik because he's Mat 9.
Yep.
Just being Mat 9 on all of these jacks makes things so easy with Road to War. He's the only jack that hasn't Road to War, so he's going to move into the KHADOR jacks, use the 1-die macro pummeler to just knock a Juggernaut down in case things go south, and does 1 damage.
Yep.
And then we have basically just the Inverter that can get in on Zerkova, so we're going to use it.
So it advances 4 inches.
6 because of red line.
Pardon me, 6 inches. It certainly gets within 2. Boosts at the macro pummeler attack, which hits. POW 20 is dice +5.
22 because of red line.
Dice +7. Just 13 points of damage to her.
Auto hits with the other attack and kills.
Second initial kills her. Yep, that's a dead Zerkova. So obviously mistakes were made here. A couple of things, maybe on the opening turns. It's actually, it might have been the right call, having won the die roll, to pick side on a table like this. Because you saw how aggressively swinging wide really limited my ability to protect my army. Playing really centrally through Ghost Walk to get through the forest, just avoid the Burning Earth template and just play through the rest of the table. Throw something pretty disposable behind that oil can at the bottom and just protect my whole army with clouds and eventually deliver into something. Would I have been able to crack through enough armor? Maybe. It's tough to say. The list, as I say, is a little bit pillow-fisted. I'd probably swap Sylys for Ragman and be much happier doing so. Having said that, it was a really interesting, kind of weird KG game with a lot of kind of bizarre elements going on in it. But that's the match. Thanks very much for tuning in, folks. Really appreciate you seeing what we got. Should mention again, we have recently started a Patreon service.
Yeah, check us out on Patreon. The deal with that is that if you are a patron on our Patreon, you will get our videos a week early.
Yep, that's the whole thing. It's we want to focus on the content. What we do is produce battle report videos that we think the commentary and the content is good. We don't want our content to be behind a paywall or not be free, but we do want to reward people for supporting us and letting us do the work. So if you want to help us be able to take some time off and attend more conventions and be just a little bit more well rested when we're generally producing content, that helps. And in exchange, we will give you everything early so you can enjoy it faster.
Yeah, that's it. Look forward to content coming every week, every Monday. We're still keeping up with that schedule. And be sure to check us out on Facebook. That's where we post basically every video once it's up on YouTube. We both have Twitters. I tweet sometimes. You tweet also sometimes.
Yeah, little bit less recently, but I think maybe after WTC this year, I might get back into tweeting my games.
Nice.
I think it's a really useful metric that helps you kind of track something, really set some personal goals, and jump into another faction. It's always a new faction for me every year, looking at the next year's WTC, and I'm thinking next year either Circle or Ret.
Interesting. Mm-hmm. All right, well, we'll see what that is. Keep connected in all the social media feeds in the description below the video, and we will see you guys next week.